Hi, you guys. This is Auntie Neicey and Nick, the aunt and cousin you actually like.
Hey, you guys. How are you doing? Welcome to another segment of Aunt Neicey Speaks. Hey, Aunt Neicey.
Hey, Nick.
Happy Tuesday to you.
Happy Tuesday.
So, I love this segment so much when you give insight to your listeners. And, there's been a lot going on. In the news, so much stuff's been happening.
I swear, people up in arms about stuff.
And before we kick this segment off, I was reminded of this because me and you talked about it, and we always talked about how it is so important because a lot of times when people want to vote, elected officials into office. Mm-hmm. They just most of them just wait around until it's time to vote for president.
Yes.
Right?
And there's so much happens all in between them that is just as important.
Yeah.
Voting is voting, and voting is where you make a difference.
Yes.
You feel like you don't make a difference. And you hear people say it all the time. Your vote don't count. Only way your vote don't count when you don't vote.
Yes. And
then it don't count
exactly.
To you.
And it's always important to not just vote at a national level, but to vote as a local and
state level.
Yeah. And
because all this builds up to that.
Yes, exactly.
It makes all the difference in these local and state levels. What the Senate and the state, the Senate and the House and Congress looks like at the very top. Mm-hmm. But it starts down here, state and local level.
Yeah. So it's important to know who your mayor is going to be. It's important to know who your governor is going to be. And even going back to the mayors, your city councilmen, all those things. That's so important to vote on because you need to know, and you need to do your research on, the background of these people and their work, so you will know what their intentions are. Mm-hmm. Working for your city and working for your state. And it's very important. So that brings us to this. We were talking about that 1020 bill that they've introduced. The House has introduced in Mississippi. And this bill is basically talking about how white neighborhoods can build new districts in heavily Black areas. Mm-hmm. So basically, nobody likes this word, but it's gentrification.
Exactly.
It's gentrification at its finest, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you feel about this bill? How would you feel if this bill is actually goes through and gets passed? And
you're going to see a lot of things that are enforced now reversed. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a lot of change. You're going to see a lot of people not owning their things that they own. Mm. And it goes back to, you go to thinking about you buy a piece of property, you pay for it, you think it's your property, but to be truthful about it, you never own nothing.
Because there's always somebody with a bigger bag trying to come in and take over. Yeah.
Not only that, you're constantly paying for it. So if you don't if you're still paying for it and you own it, then what are you paying?
Yeah,
that means you don't own it.
Yeah,
you don't own it. I don't care how many titles, how many deeds. Mm-hmm. If you still paying some money out your pocket towards whatever this property it's not yours altogether.
Right.
And there is a word I heard about it. It's another type of title. It's called Loida or something. I can't think of the word, but it's something. Okay. But that's the type of title it is. When you have that type of title, that's when you own it completely. Mm-hmm. And as long as you don't have that, you don't own anything, to tell you the truth. As long as you're in this country.
Can I share a story with you?
Sure.
About my great uncle, not my great uncle, but my great granddad.
Absolutely.
My great granddad, his name was Mr. Albert. And he had land. he had land, and I won't say where. I won't put out last names and all that other stuff.
Absolutely. That's not
important. But he had land, and basically, some people wanted that land.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was something on that land that they found that was very valuable, minerals,
mm-hmm.
all types of stuff, whatnot. Mm-hmm. It was rumored that there was oil.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So, my great-grandfather, he had, he was sickly, and he was at the hospital. And on up until, even before he got sick, these people were trying to pressure him. You know how stuff was back in those days. Trying to pressure him to sell his land. A certain color felt like they had more influence. They were trying to get him to sell his land. And he didn't want to sell it.
Uh-huh.
So when he was in the hospital and he was sick,
mm-hmm.
Now he was sick now, but he wasn't on his last leg.
Oh, okay.
But I remember this story that my great uncles would tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying how my great grandfather passed away. They said that he was killed. Mm-hmm. Allegedly, that he was killed by these men that wanted his land.
Uh-huh.
They knew a doctor up there, and they came up there, and they quote unquote visited him. And when they left out the room, he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
But before he died, somebody got him to sign these papers to sell the land. And I remember my great uncle and my uncle, they were saying, they were begging, like they were saying how my great grandfather was begging them not to leave him in the room with these men.
Mm-hmm.
And they were always saying that these people allegedly killed him for his land. They made him sign the papers, and then he passed.
You know what? It's not beyond them. That's
right.
Not beyond nothing that they'll do.
Right.
And I've heard worse stories.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it makes me, and it also makes me think about if you all listen to the last podcast that me and Aunt Neicey did, we were talking about the Murdaugh trial and the verdict and the sentencing. Well, here's what you may not have heard, and it's regarding this young man named Hakeem Pinckney, mm-hmm. who unfortunately passed away in October of 2011, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Now, nobody mentioned him. Netflix didn't mention him. He wasn't mentioned during the trial. But what happened to this young man was very unfortunate. And of course, it involved the Alex Murdaugh.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you had Hakeem, who was a teenager. He was hearing impaired. But despite everything, this was a very athletic young man. He was on the football team. They won a state championship. He excelled in every way he could excel. And mm-hmm. unfortunately, he got into this really horrible accident with his mom and cousin, I believe. And there was some tire company, I believe, their 18-wheeler collided with his family's vehicle. And it left Hakeem paralyzed from the neck down. Uh-huh. The poor baby couldn't even breathe on his own. So Alex Murdaugh and his fellow attorney, Corey Fleming, they took over the lawsuit case. And basically what ended up happening was they settled out this case, and they also used a former CEO of Palmetto State Bank named Russell Lafitte to help swing them this money that they stole from this man's family. They practically stole, I think, several million, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Now, after they settled for the first lawsuit, after the first settlement was reached, 4 days later, this young man died at the care facility that he was at. Somehow his ventilator was unplugged. So can you imagine that? Not being able to hear, not being able to speak, and not being able to breathe.
And move on your own.
And move. And mm-hmm. that poor baby passed away. The ventilator was unplugged, And as if they hadn't stolen enough, Alex Murdaugh and Corey Fleming, they turned around. Yeah, they turned around and have another lawsuit against the facility, and they stole that money too. And to this day, this young man's family has not received a dime.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hearing it now that the case is getting a little bit more circulation, but I was just like, of all the people they mentioned in that series when they were talking about the Murdaughs, I was like, they should have mentioned this young man, because
that should have been at the forefront of all this.
And it really just makes you think. It really just makes you wonder, like, how many people did this man, may have allegedly killed?
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing.
String of bodies on his name.
Definitely, for sure. Mm-hmm. Because the thing that Hakeem's mother said, she said at the time around before his ventilator was found unplugged, he was doing good. He was making slight improvements. Mm-hmm. He was going to need care for the rest of his life, which that money would have helped tremendously with.
Right.
But he was still, there's no telling what improvements he could have made if he had just been given the opportunity through that money. And the fact that he was denied of that, the fact that they just so,
convenient.
Yeah, they stole it. They stole it. They took.
But that's how they operate. That's what they do. They don't surprise me at all, because
it's very sad. Mm-hmm. It makes you angry, because it's just like, this is kind of like with this bill. Like, it's just like they don't have no consideration. People just come in. They feel like because they got the dime and the time and the resources that they can just take over.
They can do like they want.
Yeah, and we don't want anyone to get offended by this word gentrification, but we also want people to be blatantly aware of what's going on in the state of Mississippi.
And what it is, and how to recognize it when you see it. Because it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello. Mississippi ain't got no, they call this the Southern hospitality. Baby, where?
I haven't seen
Baby, where?
Point me in the direction of Southern hospitality.
I tell you, and there's some good folks here. You got bad people everywhere. But the Southerners pride themselves on that Southern hospitality thing. But let's just
too much.
Yeah. But let's just keep it a buck. Like, Mississippi got a janky history.
For real.
Especially when how they treat Black people.
Mm-hmm. And
right?
It's not changing much either. Because here we go. Right back around the bend again.
Yeah.
I mean, but people are up in arms about this. The reinstatement of Jim Crow laws.
Yeah, they feel like it's reloading.
Mm-hmm. And it reminds me, everything, like they say, ain't nothing under the sun is new. Everything it's like it has a revolving effect. Mm-hmm. I mean, you might go through something, and then years later it comes back around again, and this is no different.
How they say history repeats itself.
Exactly. And it's just no different. But just be aware, and it's be informed what that is.
Yeah.
And move accordingly. Because it sounds scary.
Like they got plans.
Mm-hmm. Like they trying to bring back a lot of other stuff, which ain't gonna float. But still,
I see it just going on throughout the world, even in other countries all over the world. You see basically them strong arming who they want to be president, And I know over there in Nigeria, I watch news like all over the world, they had their presidential election, and, how they were, going over the votes, and it was so time consuming. I was just like, come on now. I know these are, and y'all are running things off analytics and everything, but, I was just like, it's going to be some kind of corruption somewhere because something's not going to get counted right. Because just the way they were kind of handling stuff, it just seemed like they were prolonging. And, yeah, but I was, this kind of stuff goes on all over the world. And it's very unfortunate. And then, you look at your own city, your own state, and you're just like, what in the world is the future going to be? Like, what does it mean for our children?
I'm going to tell you, I am afraid for them. The best thing they can do is just be educated.
Yes.
Be educated and be watchful.
And be streetwise as well as you are book smart. Yeah.
Exactly. And watch as well as pray.
Yeah. And if you can try to establish yourself, try to make a good, go to, like, y'all, this ain't no joke. Like, for real. Like, if you got to have some kind of strong financial backing to make it in this world. Have a plan,
Exactly.
We all love a good social media trend here and there, but this goes beyond that. Likes and views and all that other stuff. You need to have a plan that you're going to set for the course of your life, because have a plan A and have a plan B, because sometimes plan A ain't going to work out. And a lot of times certain things don't, but it's very important to remain educated, not only in your books as far as, academics, but you need to be educated. Yeah. What's going on in your hometown, in your state, in your country, what's going on throughout the world. You have to stay, savvy on these things, because when you have the knowledge, people cannot pull things over on you.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's something they can never take away from you as well.
Yes. And it's very I have to admit, I'm concerned myself.
Yeah, and not only that, I have heard that it's not just Mississippi. There are other southern states
throughout the South
have the same issues.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know for sure Georgia, for sure,
and Texas, I know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
woo. Yes, honey.
So look out, world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if they try it one place, they're gonna try it other places. But they try to do it under the cover, under the radar.
I think it's gonna be all throughout the country, and then Trump is running for the next round of the presidency, so he's gonna run again. Yes. And I think they're trying to get these things underway so they can fully get in and do whatever they want to do,
and they can push it through.
Yeah. Because they said the governor Tate Reeves is getting ready to revamp some stuff for the state of Mississippi.
I'm not surprised.
I'm telling you.
I'm not surprised. These folks is getting their ducks in a row for some stuff that's just going to blow your freaking mind.
Yeah. And I think they're just ready to just take over.
It's going to set us back. What I mean by set us back, yeah. Because a lot of times we don't read, we don't follow up, we don't pay attention. I
think this younger generation, that the generation that I like to call the diaper shitters. And this is why I say it, because they don't pay attention to things, and it's not trying to be degrading towards them, but it's just like people. First of all, you're always in your phone. It's always in a phone. It's never in a book. You don't read. You don't pay attention to stuff. You don't try to keep up with the history books. You don't try to keep up with any of that. You don't even write cursive. Damn it. Like you don't even want to write in cursive.
They steady dumbing you down.
Yeah.
They constantly
dumbing you down so you can't be built up.
Ignorant.
Yeah. They want you to to stay
pass stuff over your head.
Yes.
And you won't even notice.
Yes.
Exactly.
And you so concerned with what's on TikTok and what's getting likes and views.
and
you're not
games.
Yeah.
And these games you want to play.
You're not paying attention to what's really going on beneath the surface.
You got a whole computer in your hand when you got your phone in your hand. You can ask this thing anything and it's gonna tell you.
Yeah.
But you don't ask it now. You gotta be on there.
And I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell you what I heard Candace Owens say. If you got to Google it, you don't know it.
That's true.
So my advice for young people and they think they know everything. They like to call us, oh, technically I heard once you get past 30 you consider old, which I think is some bullshit. Because first of all, that is so stupid, because I'm like, first of all, let's getting older is aging with grace. It is not a bad thing. I think this generation has forgotten that it's a blessing to get older.
Exactly. They think if you're not young and vibrant and you're not dropping it like it's hot,
girl, these damn
and life expectancy now is so short because you don't have people living to be 40 years old. They dying and
they want to eat Takis and twerk.
Yeah.
Back in the day we had soul food and standards. These days it's Takis and twerking. And
I take that soul food and standards.
That's what I said. I'm telling you. I know. That's right.
There used to be like to get 70 was.
Yeah, they try to age shame. They try to age shame you now. Oh, you middle age.
You 60 years old, girl.
You be in your damn 30s and they calling you old. I be like, you little diaper shitters with your mama's titty milk still on your breath. You better go sit down somewhere. We the ones that got our shit together. What you talking about?
Exactly. Girl, it's funny. It is hilarious.
Yeah, I'm like, y'all gonna be looking for some old heads when these folks try to spin that block on you and start doing all this BS.
Yes,
you're gonna be looking.
You got grandmothers that's grandmothers and they in their 30s. How unheard of is that?
But you know what? I know back in the old days, like, women started having children fairly young, but it's like in this generation, it's just
it's not smart because not only when they
because times have changed so much. Yeah.
Back then in those days, you didn't have cars. They were still on wheels. They were still working the farms. They were growing their own vegetables. They was raising their own animals to eat themselves. It was just a different time. So yeah.
Different time, same BS though.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It seems like it's always evolving in some kind of way, but
so it's not. Yeah. It's a lot different.
Yeah, it is different.
It is a lot different.
So you're originally from Florida, and you are now here in Mississippi. So what would you like to see from Mississippi moving forward? What are your hopes? Do you have any for Mississippi? I don't want to say it like that, but
you want to be honest. I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Keep it real.
If I can be honest, I'll be getting out of Mississippi. I am so sick of Mississippi.
Girl, you gonna run off and leave me, girl?
I'm telling you, this is a story. This is a story when I first moved here. Okay, my husband and I had just moved here, and it ain't gonna be too long.
No, you good. You good.
We was in a furniture store. We was trying to furnish our place because when we left Florida, we left everything in Florida. We just left and came over, and we was only supposed to be here 6 to 8 weeks is what we was told. And then when we got here, we found out that the program that he was entering was a year. It was a year program. So therefore, it was for every day for a year. And
through his job.
And so we didn't know that. But when we got over here and learned that, we wasn't going to be coming back and forth every day from Florida. No. So we decided to get a place. So we got a place here. Found a place. So now we got to furnish it. So we was in a furnishing store. And when we first came in, you didn't get no greetings. Just walked in.
Mm-hmm.
And while we were in there, we noticed that people that came in behind us, it was somebody, hello, how y'all doing? Can we help you with anything? You
so
know,
they acknowledged the people behind y'all.
But nobody never acknowledged us.
Ooh.
So we didn't know that, we didn't notice it until we heard it after we were in. And then we said, well, nobody never offered to help us. And the whole time we was in the store looking, nobody came over to assist us. But anyway, we ended up finding a living room suit that we liked it. That's what I was in there to buy, was a living room suit. And we found one that we liked it, and we went and, so my husband went and got a salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they came over and, and we started assisting us. So we was asking about price and, their financing and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we decided on a set. And we sat down to do the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how you sit down and they tell you, they bring out this big old contract.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to, well, this paper, they say, well, you sign and date this and it's on, and then they tell you what it says. And it's only explaining this, that, and they'll tell you what it says.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to sign your name here and date here. Okay. I mean, she did that a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I did sign. I just signed and dated. And then I said, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And she moving right along. I mean, it was paper after paper after paper after paper. So I just stopped. I said, you know what? I say, if I'm going to take my time and I'm going to read what I'm signing. I said, because number one, you could say whatever you want to say, but until I know what it says and I'm putting my name on it, I want to read it for myself.
Right, because they could be trying to overcharge the hell out of you.
And be lying, misrepresenting,
right.
What is on the...
adding a bunch of extra stuff on. Yeah.
So she said, well, we really don't have time. I'm telling you what it says. And then you agree to that, just sign and date, and we're moving right along. I said, well, I tell you what, that's not good enough for me. I said, you could say what it says, but until I read what it says, and my signature is going on here, I'd rather read it for myself. So I sat there.
So she was basically trying to rush you through paperwork.
Exactly. Pretty much just rushing me through the paperwork. And I told her, she said, and she kept interrupting. I said, well, you know what? If you don't have time, that's okay. We can go to another store.
Yeah.
That has time, because I'm not going to put my John Hancock on something that you say until I know what it says for myself. And she got real irritated about that. So my husband and I, we got up and we left. So when we got up to leave, a lady was coming out the back. Mm-hmm. And she asked us, was we taken care of? Is everything all right? I told her no, and I told her what happened. Mm-hmm. And
how did she handle it?
Baby, we ain't seen that girl no more.
Well, that's good, because how the hell you gonna be rude and you at work? You supposed to be there with the customer.
If you ain't got nothing else to do, you got time enough for this lady to read this contract and sign. Yeah. And she said, well, you just hold on a minute. And she took us in her office. And at that point, she got rid of her. Mm-hmm. She fired her, but whatever. I don't know what happened, but I still didn't buy that living room suit from there, because I told them. I mean, she said,
people just be handling stuff wrong.
You got to be careful how you treat people that come in the stores. We are the consumers.
And overall life, you got to be careful how you treat people.
And she said, you're absolutely right. And she went and she spoke to her, and she came back, and she still tried to. She still was trying to get me to buy the living room. So I told her, I'm sorry, but I feel some type of way, and I don't want to do business with nobody with no place. She said, but I see through the whole contract. You can do whatever you can.
Yeah, so that was basically your first impression of Mississippi.
Exactly.
When you first came here, so you was like, dang,
I mean, for real. Yeah. You just usher people around, and it's okay with them. And I told her, I don't understand how you do business like this, because where I come from, I know how to read. I know how to understand what I'm reading. Don't nobody have to tell me what this say. I'd rather read it and read it for myself. But anyway, the moral of the story is that they push a lot of people around in Mississippi. Not only that, this happened in the grocery store too before.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was just, my impression was that y'all just don't not bite.
I feel like here's my opinion. I just feel like where the money's right, you can get it right. But where there's not much money and resources, which is pretty much how they do it throughout the world, because they always say money talks, bullshit walks. But they don't. But you notice that Mississippi has one of the highest rates of illiteracy. Like, they basically will say Mississippi is one of the dumbest states. And it's not that, and and I feel like they could have so much more, but they're not going to give the resources. It's not like they don't have it, because let's be real, they put money where they want to put it, but they don't want to invest into, public schools, and especially like in heavily Black populated areas.
Yeah, I see that. And I mean, all this money all this money that they get from gambling and stuff, I don't see it in the education, because these kids don't even have books coming home from school. You know how we had books when we went to school? We had books we had to bring home every day. Yeah,
it's certain cities like they just don't try to invest into,
I mean, and that's sad, because everybody deserves an education. I just think that they dropped the ball with educating, and they do. You see the result of it.
And they do it on purpose so they can come back later and do what they want to do, because they'll say, well, you guys aren't doing a good job, and we're going to come in and we're going to take over. Yeah, they're not doing a good job, because first of all, you're not providing with the resources. You're not providing them with the money. You're not providing them with any kind of support to take things to the next level. And then you want to come back and tell them how bad of a job they're doing. And then you got certain idiots that work in office that when they're supposed to be over certain monies, they steal it. That makes it even worse.
Exactly. And you got a bunch of thieves in Mississippi, and you got a bunch of ill-informed people.
Yes.
And that results in stuff like this stuff that's that 1020 and Jim Crow and all this other stuff that's coming back, because they're basically they're just basically just stringing you along and giving you crumbs.
Yeah.
And they have a bigger picture,
of what they want their Mississippi to look like.
And they are grooming you for it.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of that. And that was my first education of Mississippi when I first got here. And I had to tell them, I said, well, you know what? I wasn't educated in Mississippi, so I can read. I understand what I read. And and that's not. And I'm not saying that's for everybody in Mississippi.
Yeah, you can be educated
just what
anywhere. Yeah.
Since I've been here, and it's still happening.
Yeah. And unless people just get wise and put their attention and their energy towards things that are the necessary things that are needed to be productive, stuff like this will keep falling through the cracks, and people just have to just be more vigilant.
Not only that, they need to take stock in themselves, and where these schools are not coming up at. We as parents, we need to be doing this kind of work ourselves with our own children.
Yes, make sure they're educated for sure.
Even if we have to teach them ourselves, on top of what they doing in school.
Oh yeah, because they're not going to give them critical race theory.
Exactly. So you know what?
Child, don't get me started, because we'll go past this podcast time. You know how I feel about education,
I know. Yeah, I know, but we're going to have to take the initiative as parents and make sure our kids are informed, and if that means that we have to teach them at home.
That's right. Yeah.
And
knowledge is power, people. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise.
Any different.
Knowledge is power. So thanks for tuning in with us today. That wraps up our segment. Don't forget to join us for No Holds Barred Friday, where we will be talking about some more juicy topics just for you. And until then, you guys be safe and blessed. Bye.